It's hard to understand the way that you went out. I bet you're living with a little hint of doubt. Maybe next time when you gotta show your hand, you won't cut and run, you'll finally make a stand. 'Cause I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. We're not through. Yeah, I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. Existential questions always get you down. All you want to know is, are we lost or found? Is there something that you feel you need to chase? I bet you thought you'd put me in my place. 'Cause I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. We're not through. I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. Yeah, I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. We're not through. Yeah, I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. You can run, you can hide, but inside, I'm finally getting to you. Yes, it's true. I still love you, but I am getting to you.
Stand by to initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5,
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2, 1. Mark.
Welcome back to the Resupply with me, Guy Next Door.
Me, DK.
And me, Fan.
Bringing you your 200th episode of all things Space Marines and Laserforce. I only just noticed, and it delighted me to no end when I flicked out. Oh goodness me! Let's
Let's are already starting.
Right there, you champion. 42 months. What a superstar. 42 or 44 months. What a legend. Your shirt matches your drapes. I mean your hair. It's it's awesome.
Well, before the show, Steve did ask us to wear the nicest outfits that we had. So all three of us are wearing our absolute best outfit. I think Steve just forgot that he was talking to a history professor and somebody who works from home for a living. So, you know.
You can definitely tell who gets the most income from this stream, judging by the 3 cameras. Oh goodness me, the rolling in thick and fast, Troy. 41 months. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. It's so nice to have all of our friends, all of our Laserforce friends hanging out, and all of our Twitch friends too, coming to celebrate this milestone of ours, which is I gotta say pretty cool. How you boys feeling?
Cool.
You feeling good? Feeling pumped?
Yeah, I mean, I've been. I know I've said this in our group chats. I've been looking forward to doing this show. This is yeah, this is just one of those that it's always great when we can do a show that we know is going to cause chat to argue.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
It's so
it's great when like, so thank you guys so much for all the subs. The hype train's popping off. Ducky 46
Great
months.
day. Great day for a hype train.
Corby 2 28 months. Thank you guys so much. It's good to get your money at the start of the show before we piss you off. Because hopefully
keep it coming.
Hopefully Twitch don't have a refund policy. I'm hoping that's the case. Lucy with the gift sub. Frosthammer will be stoked to not have to pay for this subscription for yet another month. Thank you so much. You guys are legends. Thank you guys. We'll talk about a little bit about what today's gonna be like and etc. etc. But DK, you feeling good, bro? How you feel? Did you take a pregame
Feeling good.
poop?
No, that's your department, buddy.
Yeah. I've tried to get all my ducks in a row, so to speak, for the show.
is that what we're calling it?
Yeah.
today?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I call.
No, I'm feeling good. We're going up against the NBA playoffs, and we have people who would rather watch us instead. So obviously, they have their priorities correct.
Yeah.
We do have the best audience.
It's pretty. You guys are great. 45 months from Bob to Builder Baden. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. We've obviously been gone now for a number of years. When did we kick off? Inception of the show was 2000 and...
We kicked off in late 2016 specifically as a way to build hype for internets in Sacramento in 2017. So yeah, the fact that like so there's two ways to look at this. The fact that we're still doing this basically 8 years later is really cool.
Yeah.
The fact that it's taken us 8 years to get to 200 episodes, I'm not sure how cool that is.
Yeah.
But
we're a little bit more loaded to the more recent years.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, most definitely. You appreciate the fact that Than dressed up for the occasion? Us too. That particular jersey, whilst it doesn't have the ability to affix a tie to it, it does carry a very special place. I know in your heart, Dan, but definitely in mine as well. But 8 years, goodness me, pretty awesome. And we've seen many iterations of the show. No, Dice says me. Yeah, you could put one on. Variety of hair styling and headgear today is exemplary. We like to cover all of the demographics.
Yes.
Yeah.
bald.
All 3 shades of white.
You just described my tan line there. So but yeah, we've been going for a long time. We started as just a audio podcast with editing, I guess is the best way to describe it.
That's the accurate way to describe it. 'Cause I used to try to edit my stutters out.
That's true. I did actually do that for a while, and then I was like, nah. you guys have been around, Than. Hey, cuz, what's up? So yeah, start off as audio, and then obviously during the pandemic, when everyone was like, "Hey, I stream now," we were like, "Hey guys, should we also now stream now?" And to which both of you were like, "Yes, please, let's do it. I can't wait."
I believe my exact words are, "I don't know what kind of idiots would watch it, but sure, why not?"
And I believe my words were, "This is a fucking stupid idea, but sure."
And thanks.
And here we are.
Yeah, and episode 200, celebrating you guys. We really appreciate all the support that you guys have given us over the last 8 years. It's pretty cool. We're pretty proud. I don't like Laserforce. Laserforce has done some pretty wonderful things for all 3 of us, most definitely, but for most of you in chat as well. And the podcast, whilst it was a way for the 3 of us really to build hype and to keep kind of hanging out, so to speak, over the COVID period. Stallion.
I mean, to be fair, Stallion's not wrong. He's not wrong. It is a bold move. Let's see how it pays off for us.
But it's kind of turned into also it's our small way of trying to give back to our community that gives so much to us. So and whilst Than is constantly saying that we do the show for us, which is true, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us and all the support and love and everything that you send our way. It's nice. It's very nice.
It is nice.
100%.
It started as all cults do with BC having a dream. Exactly right. We did talk about the newest range of barbecue wear coming soon called I think it's the Resupply fries. This
is our way of giving back to the community by selling you more things.
Oh, we should have done it. Damn it. I can't believe I flaked on this. What about the pies? Oh, those are coming too. The Resupply pies. That's where all your money goes to, is creating Resupply pies. But I kind of wish I had done like a commemorative hat or t-shirt to also sell to you all. Marking the 200th episode. So
I'm so sad I didn't get any Resupply pies when I was staying in Auckland. Feels like a missed opportunity.
Yeah. How do I unsubscribe? That's what I was saying. It's too late. You already gave us your money. This is the best scam we got. It's brilliant. Right, enough of that. I did a couple of weeks ago. We had put our sort of plan together to do a couple of shows, 199 and 200. And 199 was originally going to be this show, the Hall of Fame show, and then I was going to put together a highlights package over the last since we've been streaming, basically, of podcasts. I'm glad that things happened and now I don't have to put that video together, because I was briefly in and it was already taking a long time. So thank you, Slaughter Melon, for disrupting things with your announcement pod the last time we were on. But we obviously have moved the Hall of Fame episode to today. So yeah. Can't wait. It's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Highly anticipated. Much hype built around this particular episode. Maybe so far to date, aside from like actually broadcasting Nats, this is probably one of the highest number of people we've had in chat so far. So thank you.
Other than maybe one of the charity streams, yeah.
Aside from charity stream, yeah. 500 to 600 hours of cast, easy 6 week. Dude, yeah. I got like 3 episodes into the back catalog. I was like, I'm not doing this. This sucks.
Well, I think
I knew there was at least a bit of a chance of that when you're like, oh, we'll do a clip show for 200. I'm like, hey, Steve, that's a lot of work, but
yeah, I think
go right ahead.
I'm pretty sure both DK and I kind of had the same thing when you said it. Like, are you sure? Are you sure about that? Are you sure that's really a thing you want to do?
I think I got a few clips together, and they were mostly of us having technical issues and Than being homeless. I think those were the two things that I had clipped. Yeah,
that was a fun little stretch of time.
Yeah, I was like, I forgot he lived in a van down by the river. So that basically sums up our last 8 years of work is technical problems and Than being homeless. So yeah, you're all caught up. That was the highlights. Right, shall we get into the show? And how many DK hit goals? That's true. That is true. Right.
Definitely get into the show.
Today we started with an idea. Had the idea of, hey, what would happen? What would it look like if our competitive Laserforce Space Marines 5 scene had a Hall of Fame? Because I like, I like sports, and I especially like when they do like Hall of Fame stuff or awards or whatever. And I was like, what would that kind of look like if we implemented that kind of thing into our scene? And I put it to the boys, and I think you're both like, yeah, let's do that. The very first
easiest show idea ever. Easiest show idea ever.
I guess the place we kind of need to start though is our criteria. because I mean you can't just put anyone in a Hall of Fame. It's not like, it's not a club for everyone. It's a club for singling out people and making other people feel bad about themselves. I mean,
much like high school.
Yeah,
Much like high school.
yeah. But shall we? I wanted to talk about what our personal criteria was. I'd love to hear in chat, like, if you guys have some ideas about what you think makes a Hall of Fame Space Marines or just Laserforce player. But what's better than sports? Quantifying those sports with stats, 100%.
Combines my two favorite things: watching other people do physical activity and doing math.
Yeah.
It's full on nerd shit.
Yeah, so I figure, like, how do you want to start? Do you, like, we're gonna lean on Big Brain DK for most of the show, from a knowledgeable point of view, because
Well, we'll see.
yeah, we'll see. But I guess, yeah, how do we want to start I guess what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you guys think Hall of Fame? Dislocation of a body part. Traj, first quality need to have a silky smooth deep voice. You nominate Night Owl. There is no better voice in our game than Night Owl.
Correct.
Oh,
Correct.
I might be Laser Tag's ass, but he's Laser Tag's voice.
but where do we start? What jumps off the page for you guys? For how what the overall thing is.
Well, we should mention that we have kept our criteria and our list mostly secret from one another. Obviously, there's been some discussion about how we wanted to present information on the show, but each of us was kind of playing our cards a little close to the vest because we wanted a sort of honest reading about what different criteria might be. So we're just really workshopping this now, but at least on my list, I think a couple of caveats just for the overall exercise first. So like we did with the all-time Space Marines draft that we did, probably wasn't maybe a couple of years ago at this point.
It's a while ago.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
It was a while ago. But that one was kind of based on, peak value as a player. So if you get the player when they were at their best, who would you put on a team? But for something like this, I think here longevity does matter. Like peak value certainly matters as well, but longevity matters here. Have you been a contributor over a long span of time? That I think is sort of important in looking at someone's overall record for something like a Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And we should clarify that this is like the Space Marines Hall of Fame, not necessarily Laser Tag or even Laserforce itself, but in looking at Space Marines 5 in a competitive environment. So things like Masters titles or track record in other games or overall number of games played, like those might be kind of outside factors, but I'm really concentrating mostly on Space Marines here.
Yeah.
So things that I wanted to look at were number of Nationals wins somebody has.
Yeah.
Because I think winning does matter.
Winning does matter. Of
course it does.
That's accurate.
Yeah.
We play a competitive sport. Somebody has to win it.
Number of individual awards that you've won. Like, have you been a persistent member who's been somebody on All-Star MVP lists or Medic Killers, Golden Guns, any of those types of awards where you distinguish yourself relative to your peers? Success across fields is certainly something I would look at. If you're only good in your home arena, that's less impressive. Like, there's still plenty of good players who are great in their home field and aren't as good in other places. But to really impress people, I think you need to have a track record of success in multiple fields. So, like, if you've made the finals in a couple of fields that aren't your own, you have a much better case, in my opinion, than somebody who's, maybe won a couple, but they were all on their home site. And then just overall contributions to the game or impact on the community. Those things still matter. Even though this is ultimately about competition and greatness, contributions to the community always make a difference. If you've had kind of an outsized impact on the game just for things that you've done, maybe just in service to the sport as a whole, I think that's something that needs to be factored in as well.
Yeah.
That's
that's a solid list. I mean, that's a lot of what mine was as well. Mine also had a kind of the extra thing of there's a couple of just vibes choices on a mine, just because there's always those players that even that do fly under the radar in terms of necessarily like wider acknowledgement, but they're so impactful and effective in the roles that they do have and manage, that they still deserve to be there. I mean, everybody remembers the commander, everybody remembers the heavy, not everybody remembers the resupply. I mean, they remember us because we never shut up.
It's the name of the show, bro. Can't
exactly.
forget.
But if players are going to be overlooked, it's usually in kind of those the backline support type places. So there's some vibes choices in some of mine around that, but the list that DK had was pretty much on point.
Remember, guys and gals and non-binary pals, it's hard to play Space Marines if you don't have shots in live, so be nice to your resupply.
Sidebar questions for the panel. What ambient temperature decides the beanie?
So what decides the beanie is my hairline. So the beanie is just a constant.
It's not the weather. It's fucking 90 degrees in Portland right now.
Yeah, no, it's very much my hairline shows up very poorly on a camera. And so having the beanie on lets me pretend that I don't have the lack of hairline that I do.
Goes to the barber. I need to get it trimmed. You're gonna have to take the beanie off. What beanie? What's permanent or wash in, wash out dye? Yours is fairly permanent. And what condition do I use? Head and Shoulders, baby. It's good for flaky free sculpt and also to kill aliens at the end of the world. No one cares about your hair.
I understood that reference. That was a great reference, by the way.
Thank you.
Trash. I care about my hair, and that's all that matters. So, fuck you.
Yeah, it's got an active ingredient of selenium. Right. Well, I would agree, obviously, with both of you. I'd agree with both of you about your list. I would say, for me, longevity is really important. And I think the biggest thing is Nat's titles. And then from there, like, you could take a step down and go as far as like regional tournaments. So East Coast, West Coast tournaments. And then the contribution is a massive thing for me as well. Like things that you did to help grow the scene. And if that's grow the scene at like grassroots level, so the work that you've put in at your home site, even like obviously, for a Hall of Famer you kind of need to travel and have played and won titles and stuff, but I think to your point, Dan, where you said a lot of the time the good resupplies can get overlooked. I think maybe the work that people do at grassroots level gets overlooked as well, or not acknowledged nearly as much as it should be. So yeah, it's all pretty it's all pretty important. Just saw Stallion's comment. There's always time for lubricant. Brilliant. Right. Do we want to get into our list? We've got the way we've done it, and like DK said, we've kept our criteria pretty much undiscussed. We didn't really do any stream discussion around who we've got on our lists, and what our criteria are. But it sounds like we're all pretty much agreement with what we're kind of looking for in a player. And to be fair, there are players that are obvious who would be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and we'll get to those in a minute. But is there anything you guys want to say? We didn't really plan the resupply consistently.
Great. To be fair, we actually did plan for this show more than I think we have ever planned for a show before.
Yeah, we hopped on like 2 hours before we even came on air just to talk about stuff.
To be fair, part of that was spit on the toilet.
It was very specifically around we didn't want to discuss who specifically were on each of our lists. So, there were definitely other things that we did plan around with this. So for once in our fucking podcast life, we actually did do some prep work.
Every now and again, like for the big stuff, we like to make the effort, because I think putting something out there for you guys that's more than just I guess this is a thing, and that isn't really thought out. It's not really worth your guys' time to come and watch and participate in. So, and we appreciate that. We appreciate you guys showing up. So let's if there's nothing else you kind of want to add to the criteria, should we get into our first? Who is at the very top of our lists? To get into.
Well, two names definitely stood out when we were talking about our inductions, who were probably going to be a 1A and 1B situation, because the order kind of doesn't matter.
Let me switch across to here. Hang on.
Yeah, let's get some graphics ready, because this is how prepared we are. We even have real time. Oh my God, look at that.
Nothing.
Wow, so pretty.
Just for oh, mental, what's up, dude? Just for posterity, I am gonna discuss someone first and foremost. The first person at the top of my list, and like you said, it's 1A and 1B, so it doesn't matter too much. Oh, and also I'd like to caveat before we get into this is our opinions. Like, you guys know us. We're not here to like shit on anyone in particular. We think
except each other.
Except each other. We think there's been like many great players over the years. This is just an excuse for us to talk about the people that we hold in high esteem. So, just yeah, it's okay. Tell us your wrong opinions. 100%. This is just our wrong opinions. Feel free to tell us what you think. But the first inductee into the Resupply hall. Let's try that again. Let's go back to the days where I could cut this shit out. The first inductee for the Resupply Laserforce Space Marines 5 Hall of Fame, rolls right off the tongue. It would be Tragedy. Playing out of Brisbane, Australia. With I'll quickly run through these stats. I should have put something together for them. But with over 8,500 games played, apparently 20 internationals or Nats tournaments played, 15 Nats wins. Started in 1991, pre the internet. Tragedy playing out of Brisbane, Australia. Well deserved. 15 Nats wins is crazy. SM5.
The tag father himself.
Yeah. I've put here the founding father of competitive Space Marines 5. That's how I see Traj. Also, just by the way, I've got a bunch of graphics for a bunch of different players. A lot of the photos aren't good.
Back before all of us carried a high-resolution camera in our pockets, we had to settle for significantly lower quality technology and amateur photographers.
Even now, like given the amount of like good cameras people have in them at any point in time.
Yeah.
Or there's
exactly the comparison I would make, Josh. The Bill Russell of Laserforce.
That's a good
Space
one.
Marines.
But yeah,
let's talk about it.
It is one of those things that, like, I mean, what really needs to be said here? I mean, he's been dominant over a long period of time. He's got the wins to back things up. He's been dominant in multiple positions at different nationals over the years, and yeah, it has been instrumental in the amount of overall organization to go into the competitive scene, both, from the early days all the way through, relatively recently. So it's, yeah, I mean, obviously from what chat's, Chad is completely unsurprised by this particular induction, and nobody should be surprised by this particular induction.
That's really funny.
So, yeah,
Dominant
it's
in
been
multiple positions, not with his hips now.
also correct.
Yeah, lying there is a position. Okay.
Well, in many ancient mythologies, the world or some land is created by dismembering some kind of deity who essentially sacrifices their body to give birth to the next iteration of humanity or whatever else. And I think we see that kind of play out with real time with Fred. He has just gradually given up more and more of his body to the game. But I, in all honesty, have so much respect for that, because I have had injuries playing the game. They are relatively minor by comparison, but it's always been sort of a mark I can have for myself to be like, well, look, Traj is still playing, so I don't have any excuse to quit. So until this last year where it's no, Traj might be retired from Nats. We'll see. We'll see what happens next year.
Yeah.
But in any case, right, it's there's some kind of horizon that's out there. I'm like, okay, so I got maybe 10 more years if I'm careful. So it puts the frame of comparison that's out there, and Traj is the measuring stick to which truly a long-term career has to be measured, because he's been there recently and he's been there basically since the beginning.
Yeah. If longevity is something that is important, which, obviously we've talked about, I feel that that's the case. Over 30 years of competitive Laserforce is pretty
ridiculous.
Long. Yeah. It doesn't get much longevity than that. I did ask him about game count and stuff, and he said that that 8,500 plus games, obviously played all over the world, Brisbane being the majority of the games, but he said he also had over 500 games at the Browns Plains Laserforce, which was pre them having the ability to record these games. And also in Townsville had over 100 games there, so there's a lot of games. And the I Play Laserforce site is awesome. Unfortunately, as you guys know, it doesn't count games that weren't connected to the system when it went live, so a lot of people lost a lot of games from early days. Bear in mind that, like most things on our show, whilst I did try, some of these stats and numbers might be a smidge half-assed. So,
getting questions from his own flesh and blood, questioning the record here.
Yeah. So just you bear it all with a frame of salt. If I'm way off, please let me know, which I know for a fact there will be. But Starkiller, what's up, dude? But yeah, conveniently before they record the games. That's what I keep telling these old dudes, but whatever. But yeah, what can you say? And Traj did say before that main contributor of international rule set isn't necessarily indicative of just how he plays, but that is such a such a crucial pillar in our Jesus Christ.
It really sucks.
Maybe we turn down the notifications for today.
Maybe we should. I might actually turn that off. But yeah, it's fuck off. It's just throwing me off. I was saying how important the rule set has been for our site, because it means that we can play we play a style of laser tag that is very different from most other systems, and the rules, I think it's the rule set that allows us to do that, which has been pretty awesome. So and
he checks all the boxes. It's the longevity, it's the record of winning, it's the individual awards, and it's the contributions to the game. All of those things, any one of those things would probably make him a probable inductee. But it's you put them all together, it's obvious that it's he's going to be one of the inaugural members.
I think as well, when I think of Traj, and like, I don't mean this to come like to sound like we're doing a in memoriam kind of thing, but we're gonna talk about you, Traj.
The man's still alive.
Yeah. But I would say, when I think of Traj, and whilst Traj has won many tournaments, many individual awards, I don't think about Traj's like winning history. I think about his like more about his contributions to the scene before I think about, you know, the amount of wins that, you know, the success that he's had at the game, which I think is, in my mind anyway, like testament to how much of an impact he's had on the scene as a whole, like from, you know, as a scene.
Well, and something else on that score too, I think maybe the reason you don't think about that as much is that one thing that I also find impressive about Traj and his playing history is that he's managed to play as like the primary backup, or, you know, you can call it the second fiddle if you want, to other dominant players in the past, whether that was Prophet or Fredo or Rusty for a good chunk of more recent years. It's like, you know, that other player is probably manning the primary part of the offense, and then Traj is kind of doing stuff in the background. So he may not be the focal point of the attack, but he does so many of the things that are important to be a backup. And I think that's also a good example for other players to say that just because you have the most experience doesn't mean that you necessarily need to be the player who is involved in the principal action of the play 100% of the time. Like, if anything, those more experienced players are sometimes better at being like the secondary and support players because they know what needs to be done.
Yeah, it's, and given that for the majority of the early, well, my like introduction to competitive Space Marines, he'd basically taken over the heavy role for Brisbane, and so like I've always seen him as that leader from the back, and because I play heavy for the most part, you know, I was always trying to model my game off him, and then also off Ducky. Like those were the two like great heaviers of like my early time playing competitive Space Marines. So it was really cool to see someone dominate so much from that backline position.
Different play styles, but both dominant heavies for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't think about it now, but like he was very fast. He's a very fast heavy. And whilst Ducky also was very fast at the time, he always seemed more of that wall. All the props in the world to Traj. I think a no-brainer, unanimous inductee into our Hall of Fame. Also, just quietly, or not that quiet, but there's no special rings or jackets or anything that you get from being inducted. Yeah.
Give it time.
Yeah. Give it time for a nominal fee. To yours, both his dominance, but also his understanding of the game and how it flows with any field, and how he would explain the game, breaking it down to anyone who asked. Still remember his advice and wisdom from 2010 helped you greatly introduce you to actually liking heavy. Exactly right, Scythe.
Thanks a lot, Traj. We have you to thank for Josh playing heavy. That's it. It's revoked.
That's it. You're out. No more Hall of Fame for you.
I remember like there, and this might have just been my sickness induced hallucinations, but I vaguely remember going into that week. There was a stigma from a lot of the American players around Traj, and his like intimate knowledge of the rules, and the sentiment beforehand was, oh, this guy, he like, you know, he bends the rules to like suit him. And by the end of the week, I think that position had changed. Again, I could be imagining all of that because I was hallucinating, but that's what it kind of seemed.
For the people who actually matter, like, I think that okay, how can I follow that up?
You can't have
for the people who actually matter. I think yes, they came around to the proper opinion by the end of the week.
Make more lights go boom.
Some people did not stay with the community, but what can you do?
Jared Boone Train, thank you very much for the follow. Peter gets the angriest award. I don't know. There's a few of them.
We got some angry cats out there.
Yeah. I like.
All right.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Tredge is unanimous. I think we can move on to another person.
It's hard to for these first two. It's hard to give them like all of the flowers they deserve because honestly, there's
that's also true.
There's so much to their like playing careers. It's too hard to actually go through. Like I reached out and asked for like a list and stuff for some players, and the automatic thing was, oh fuck, I can't remember. So Trage is our first on the list. He's the first one that we brought up. Should we go to the 1A
Yes.
of our okay.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish I had got some like good bed music or some like a real shitty drum roll, but yeah, what are you gonna do? For the next person that we would like to induct into the Resupply Laserforce Space Marines 5 Hall of Fame, for us it's unanimous that person is Rusty. Rusty, playing from Brisbane, Australia, but originally from Wellington, New Zealand.
I love the picture.
Yeah. Like I said, these pictures, hot garbage. I went through
Borderline shield. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Oh no, he's getting a base. He with again over 8,500 games played, 18 Nats played, 10 Nats wins. That doesn't seem right.
That's what the graphic says.
I counted at least 9, but I thought there might be more.
Actually, I think it's 10. I think it is 10. You gotta bear in mind that obviously played for less years than say a Trage, but still started mid-90s. I've put some notes in here because I think it sort of is accurate. I think is arguably the greatest Space Marines player of all time.
It's not an argument. I mean, you can have a different opinion if you want, but it's incorrect.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah. The Tom Brady of Space Marines.
I might have gone with a different analogy, but sure. I mean,
would.
Similar levels of dominance. I mean, you put him in the Tom Brady, Jordan, Gretzky category in terms of levels of dominance. There's just, other than Trage, who's been his teammate many times, there's not a lot of players who have that number of titles, and certainly that many cases where he was like clearly the best, most dominant player in the tournament. Like I think most of the great players who have come up since Rusty have sort of looked at him as the player that they want to challenge and to try to overcome because that's who you're measuring yourself against. So I don't really think there's an argument.
No.
It's bugging me that I
put
him as Brisbane. I meant to put him as Wellington player. We're trying to claim.
So New Zealand could have
right here. At least one player.
But I'm like, if you moved though to Brisbane, and I mean, I don't know the exact circumstances of the move, but I'm sure being able to play in Brisbane on a weekly basis was at least a little bit of a factor in the move. Like that's real commitment to the game too.
Yeah.
Were it, closer to California, I might have taken that path once upon a time, but that was a bit more involved to come over from the States.
Yeah. Let me correct this actually. Wellington, it's bugging the shit out of me. Wellington NZ. There we go.
Yeah. I mean,
boom.
Yeah, that's. I mean, you can credit him in both places. I mean, he's got nationals played for both sites, so. Yeah.
But most of his wins have been with Brisbane, so.
All of his wins
have been. Yeah, I don't know why I said most. Yeah, other than 2002 in the States. I mean, he wasn't a Brisbane player then.
Okay, but that was a hybrid team, and we were and the U.S. was hot garbage at that point. So
we sure were. But I learned a lot. Much like Josh said about learning from Trage in 2010, I definitely learned a lot from watching Rusty in 2002 and realized I was shit at the game and I needed to get better.
Accurate. Same.
Well, so
although I think I had figured that out in '99, going to Newcastle and just getting absolutely thrashed. It's amazing how that happens.
Yeah, I think so like I said with Traj before. When I think of Traj, I think of not so much his gameplay, but rather all of the extra stuff that he brought to the scene. Obviously, he won a lot, but brought a lot of stuff to the competitive scene. When I think of Rusty, it's the opposite. I think of and that's not to say that he hasn't brought things to the scene, but he has been such a dominant player, and like not only like good, but good for 25 years, like really good for 25 years, almost 30 years of playing competitive Space Marines, which is massive. Like to go, for such a long period of time. And if you asked anybody in our scene who's the best Space Marines player, likely gonna say, oh, Rusty, unless you ask Mental. But yeah. But to us, like it's a no-brainer. Multiple titles in both hemispheres, countless individual Space Marines 5 awards, MVP, All-Star awards.
I think so on top of all that, he was also generally very instrumental in making sure that Brisbane had teams going places. Like T and Traj were basically the linchpins of those organizations.
Yeah.
Moving as we moved into the mid aughts and later. So
that's the contribution, right? That's the contribution to the scene, is making the effort to have high standard of quality most years that there's a tournament. And I guess, and also at home as well, keeping the local league going, and every week going to the local Brisbane league and making sure that he's schooling everyone there.
In all the ways.
But yeah, it's by far the most winningest player at our tournament. I've never been to a tournament. Well, I don't think he's ever been to a tournament where he hasn't won a thing.
Whether it's an individual award or something else.
Yeah, I don't know any time he's been shut out.
Yeah, I don't think any. I'd be very surprised.
I can't think of one.
Time. Yeah. Maybe. Oh no, I'm not gonna bring that up. It was it was like that Wellington 2 for years. It was a bunch of your friends, a bunch of Rusty's friends, and a scattered few others. Once Rusty left and you stopped playing, the Wellington scene did not last much longer. And that goes to that speaks to your point, Stallion, of how important it is to have people kind of making sure that local scenes at grassroots levels are there. It takes a group commitment of a core group of players. So definitely. Top two, the top two, and it's 1A 1B, like you say, like Traj, Rusty, Traj. They've been like teammates for so many years. Have dominated our scene for so many years, and have just really achieved everything that you would expect. Top level players to achieve. Your prediction for next Soph, because of what you heard about him? Ooh, it's up there. How important is it to have friends? Depends. If you win all the time, not that much. Not that important. You got shit on in 2000. You didn't win a game except for when Al played a game for us heavy. True. So let's take.
Okay, so in like your first Nats, maybe you didn't dominate, but
I'm taking them off.
Very
the
few
list.
did.
Get out of here.
All right.
Those are the first two for us that were no-brainers. Now we get into less spicy, it's mildly spicy territory, because now we're in the part of the list where we start talking about players that we may or may not agree on.
Daza, deity from Oak, does not deserve it in any way, shape, or form. Dear Lord, Matt. And I realize you're saying that just to wind some of us up, but dear Lord, man. No.
If you could,
No.
Daz,
With a side order of no.
once you've finished winding Than in, can you catch and release? Because we need him for the show. Right. How do you want to do this?
Let's give Than the next nomination.
Yeah. So I'm gonna I am gonna throw out somebody from Oakley who I do. Yeah, I think there's a reasonable chance that this is not going to be a spicy choice. I think this is going to be a very like, oh yes, that definitely a unanimous, and that's Night Owl.
Yeah,
He's in the top 5 for me, so that's easy first ballot.
Yeah, it again, when we're talking about the longevity and the wins and the contributions to the scene at large, Al hits all of those boxes. Like he was instrumental in building the Oakley site. I think his member number is like 3 or something. Like he's OG. He was instrumental in building pretty much all of the good Oakley teams ever. It's 4. Okay, thank you. I was close. He was instrumental in organizing Oakley to, either host Nats or take teams to Nats. He was instrumental in, just so many of those pieces and helping to, build the Australian scene at an early point. That, yeah, he just has to be in this list, and also, as previously mentioned in chat, does have the smoothest voice in the entire community. It is absolutely not fair, the voice that man has. Yeah, as I hit my microphone. So
47 months, Hoodie. Thank you so much, brother.
So Night Owl has to be in, and yeah, schedule tournament coordinator extraordinaire, the whole 9.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And a major contributor, maybe the potential originator of some of the system that we use to calculate MVP points in the game as well.
Yeah, right. I do remember I wasn't involved in discussions, but I think, he did have a very prominent voice in that discussion. When he inevitably watches this back, apologies for the photo that I chose for you, bro. First and foremost, I try to grab photos of people wearing Laserforce gear. That's the only good one. Sweet peach shirt, by the way. Love it. Peach and
I love it.
Orange.
I love this trip down memory lane. It's great.
Yeah, the suits. Aren't they great? Oh, love it.
Mm-hmm.
Gen 5 suit. Gotta love it.
Is that Al at Super Weenie Hut Jr.? What the hell is Super Weenie Hut Jr.? I don't know what that is. You may have taken that photo. You're actually in a couple of those photos, too.
No,
I think I may
Glader,
have cut you out.
Glader, it's not Gen 4. The shoulders are wrong. The shoulders are Gen 5
and the gun.
Shoulders.
And the gun. Those are both Gen 5.
All the games, all the tournaments, that's the best photo. Yeah. There are better photos, but, they're like grainy, or someone's got their arm draped around, or like I'm in it, so we don't want to use any of those. Yeah, Al is another player for me whose contribution to the sport outweighs his like winning totals. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think, silly me, I don't think I've ever really like properly thought about exactly how many Nats Al has won, because I think Al's like peak playing time was more or less when I first started. So, in your early days, you kind of forget, like, or if everyone is so much better than you, unless, depending on who you are, that I think great players can go unnoticed. But yeah, with with 6 titles, started in the mid 90s, playing over 16 competitive, 16 nats, and then with a wide variety of individual awards. Yeah, he's definitely first ballot Hall of Famer.
I would agree that this is first and foremost, it's a contributions to the game type nomination.
Yeah.
But I think especially, and I would tell this to most of the American players out there, and you being an exception, of course, that people who might have only seen him play in 2018 in Brisbane or 2023 last year in Auckland, I'm not sure that you guys know how good a player that Night Owl was historically, has been historically.
Agreed.
Again, in 2002, I learned a lot from Rusty. Night Owl also smashed us real good. Night Owl was a very good player and somebody who I respected a lot in 2002, 2004 when I played against him in the early days. And just he also has a great mind for the game. So it's not just a contributions to the game type thing. Owl was a great player in his own right.
And a great leader. Like,
yes,
probably one of the best leaders I think that I've ever seen in our scene. Al is one of my favorite people, period. And yes. I think it's a lot to do with like his leadership qualities and just being a genuinely good bloody guy. But yeah, there's no doubt first ballot Hall of Famer. Without Al, you're never making a flight to any nets. 100%, exactly. And like, so for your core group, like, for the most part, like his teammates will follow him or follow his lead anywhere.
Yeah,
anywhere.
Like historically speaking, I think of like Night Owl, Hoodlum, Mental, and Duckman as essentially like all part of the same unit, because it's like where you end up with one of them, it's a good chance you'll have the other 3 that are along as well.
Yeah,
and probably some other players on the side as well. Like, I mean, Dragon was part of that crew for a few years. Spoonman came in a little bit later.
Yeah,
so strong core.
Yeah, for sure. Does anyone else want to add anything about Al before we move on?
We're gonna have like a 5-hour show if you go into this pace, so I guess we better get going.
I'm trying to spend the appropriate amount of time.
Well, we should. I mean, this is a special occasion,
getting all up in it.
This is about the history of the game. So, for people who, I mean, a lot of people who are joining us in chat are people who do remember the good old days, but for other people who might not have had the benefit of experiencing this or even hearing about it secondhand, as I did for many of these events, it's good to remember like the earlier incarnations of the game and of the rules and of tournaments.
Yeah, and just respecting the people that like help give us what we have now. So he's definitely one of those people. All right, DK, you want to handle this one?
Sure. For my next nomination, and I don't know if I'm stepping on your toes or not, I am going to nominate one of our illustrious co-hosts. I'm going to nominate Mr. Than as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Me too.
That fucking photo? That fucking photo? That fucking photo?
Look at your hair.
Keep your gun up. Keep your gun up.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
That fucking photo?
It was either that or the hot dog one.
Okay, give it a choice. That
So, I mean, we've talked a lot about the contributions already, that what Traj and Al did for Southern Hemisphere lasers, Fan did for Northern Hemisphere lasers.
Yeah.
Literally, we would not have U.S. tournaments. We wouldn't have had the expansion of the proper rule set without Fan. He was the originator of all that type of stuff. Steve and I are having a conversation beforehand. I'm not sure there really is a competitive Space Marines 5 scene in the U.S., at least not for a good while longer without Fan. Like, we were playing a little bit of competitive SM5 in the early days of Sacramento, but SM4 was still by far the dominant game, mostly until we started organizing Enats, which Fan was instrumental in. He got the process started for the U.S., and he was the first one, along with Goofball from Sugarland, to go down and actually play in the Southern Hemisphere. So that was huge. Then he created basically 2 Nats winning rosters in the span of 5 years at 2 different sites between like 2003 and 2008.
Yeah.
So again, for the kids who might not know, Than was real good. Back in the day, like in 2004, when I think about that Nats team, I still basically think of Than as our second best overall player on that team after myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was me and Tab on that team were the two that did not get All-Star awards
because you had to go swapsies
because
because
we had to switch positions between which color we were playing. Yeah.
Bro in the streets, freaking the Excel sheets.
That should have been a bullet point, and frankly, Steve, I'm ashamed of you that it wasn't.
I'm definitely gonna steal it.
2
Chat
is going to be getting your spot on the podcast from now on.
Chat, you guys are awesome. Keep these coming. Jenny Wolfus's. I'm still gonna need to see the hot dog pic.
Mental, the 2 categories are not mutually exclusive. It can be a Hall of Fame induction and a roasting, as most Laserforce events are.
Yeah,
correct.
It's a compliment sandwich.
I would, ooh. I'd like to just add to what DK said that like this is a no-brainer to me. Regardless of how you kind of feel about it, then, because you did for us. Like in Auckland, exactly what DK just described. You did for you guys in Sacramento. Like you took talent that we had here and you made it championship caliber. You brought a championship to a site. You brought wins to our site where we hadn't had any success really overseas. Yeah. The work that you've done with the stats site, or early days of stats, every time you open Excel you think of Than. Just the input that you've had into the stats, into the rule set, like organizing and running tournaments, schedule making, all that kind of stuff, and developing talent at home sites, huge. Also, I just want to say, and I don't want to get like too fucking look at us, but like your work that the work you do on this show, me and you started the podcast back in the day, and I think that the work that you've done for this show, it has been like instrumental in making sure the scene kept running during COVID, like, or at least contributed to like people staying in touch with each other over the COVID period, where we didn't have tournaments for basically 2-3 years. So yeah, I think you deserve all your flowers on this one.
For sure.
I've got games played there 5,500. Does that sound about right, or is that like a it didn't
ballpark.
count all the other one?
No, that's
ballpark.
That's about right between everything.
Yeah. 15 Nats played, 2 Nats wins that I have. Did I miss any?
Nope. No. I've got 2, and it's been a really long time since I've had a win, but I've still got those 2, so we're good.
Right there with you, bro.
Once a champion, always a champion.
That's right. But yeah, did you want to add anything? Like, yeah, I don't know if you wanted to talk about your thoughts on this player.
I mean, he's pretty trash now. He's not that good now, but he used to be good, and he used to have hair, and
he's got at least one more good tournament in him, I hope.
Oh yeah, no, one more, and then these knees are shot, I think is how that's gonna go. But no, it's it's always nice to have people recognize the work that was put in. At the same time, it's there's a certain amount of it was very, very self-interest as far as doing a lot of it, because if I didn't do it, it wasn't going to get done, and I wanted to do more of it. So
and like self-interest is how things get organized, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
enlightened
Somebody's got to
self-interest is
step
fine.
up.
So yeah,
Many are called, few answer.
so yeah, we can move on from me. That's fine.
all right, we'll move on.
Please.
You got the next nomination, Steve.
If just real quick, chat, if you've got them, chuck a bunch of Thans in chat. Let's see. I'm so glad that Thanatides isn't an emote that I have and set up in this channel, but let's go with that one. Chuck a bunch of Thans in chat if you got them. You have a good memory. All right. So, for me to round out kind of a top 5, I and some of you may or may not disagree with me on this, but I wanna give a shout out to Scorpion from Brisbane.
Yep, we had the same top 5 then.
So I put in here because I reached out to Chris and asked him for some more information and background about himself, and he's got good instincts because he straight up ignored me. But you know, like, whilst them, you know, again, we may not look at Scorpion and think, wow, he's like won a lot in Space Marines 5. There's no arguing that without Scorpion, we don't have Space Marines.
It's kind of important.
Yeah,
kind of important.
His work, I put here the Grand Mac of Laserforce, which you know, I think is a pretty good title. But yeah, I did ask Traj for some background info. He said he was the first person to win 3 Masters tournaments in a row.
Make more lights go boom.
Oh, Snake, what's up, bro? Thank you very much for the follow. 100% got Auckland to the computer level. Oh yeah, bro, 100%.
Yep.
Yeah, the first person to win 3 Masters tournaments in a row and won the first 2 inter-centre competitions that they had between Brisbane versus Browns Plains and Brisbane versus Townsville. So, he's got winning pedigree. He also won 3 Nats internationals for Space Marines. Obviously,
since 2009, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, his contributions to our sport comes from the work that he has done for the Laserforce company. You know, developing their technology, developing their systems, developing their games. And you know, we don't have our game without him. So I wanted to recognize him for that contribution to our game.
Yeah, so he was on my list as well. In terms of, you know, if you don't have good programmers, you know, when your stuff is technology based and software based, you've got problems. And I think something that a lot of people that are newer to the scene wouldn't know is that there was a period of time where he was not employed by Laserforce. And so there was a very extended period, and this was actually you know, kind of early days of Sacramento, so late 90s, and there was a very extended period where there was basically no development going on for the software because he wasn't employed by them anymore. And my understanding is what Laserforce was doing. They were basically trying to be cheap. They were trying to basically get like student developers coming in. And
this is what happens when you don't have like the Steve Wozniak in your company doing the actual like technology shit.
Try to do a thing, and then, like, you know, the semester would end, they'd leave, and so of course nothing would get that done because it takes a fair amount of time just to figure out what the code is doing. And so during that, you know, during that period of time, there was nothing happening from a software development standpoint. So, you know, there was early days, he did a thing, he was gone, nothing happened, he came back, stuff started happening again.
Yeah.
So yeah, his importance to our game as a whole cannot be overstated in that specific regard.
Well, and like Trudge said, he's responsible for every generation of Battlesuit since Gen 4, which is the system that I started on. And one of the things that attracted me to Laserforce over Qzar, which was our local competitor, was I felt that the gear was like much cleaner, more reliable. It was easier and more fun to play. And it had way better like interactivity with just the environment. I mean, some of that was down to arena design as well, but the hardware and the game system had a lot to do with what attracted me to Laserforce specifically over other game systems. And that basically is a huge credit to Scorpion primarily. Galandro, some of the other programmers and people who've contributed over the years as well. But I mean, Scorpion's been essentially like the I guess like the CTO, we would pretty much say, of Laserforce.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah, that seems right.
I would, and forgive my ignorance, but like Scorpion is the reason we have Gen 8, right?
I mean,
as far as I know.
Let's say yes.
He's been responsible for every generation of Battlesuit from Gen 4, according to Traj.
So then,
then by the transitive property, yeah, Gen 8 would be, you know, as a result of him. So
Gen 8
he even made Rusty sign an NDA before he'd let him look at the Gen 8 stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to come back and see some shit? I'm gonna need you to sign this contract. I think
we will kill you.
And it might just be recency bias, but the Gen 8 equipment is gorgeous. It's so nice.
It's not recency bias. It's genuinely.
It's awesome.
Leaps and bounds better than all the previous generations.
Yeah.
It's
and
not
in any
even
other
close.
just laser tag system.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's so much. It looks like so much better than anything else that's out there, and like just the like just the fuck. I'm trying to remember the word. Should have written shit down, but whatever. It's awesome. You're so spoiled to start on Gen 8. 100%. SM5. Forgive me. Who are you in? Who are you in real life again? I can't remember.
That's White Ninja.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello.
What
nice
up, White Ninja?
Nice to see you.
Yeah, you're getting a full-on history education today. These flames are well before your existence.
Oh God, that's right. Oh.
Let's sidestep that one. But yeah, thank you, Scorpion, for everything that you've done for Laserforce and for our competitive scene specifically, and also like good job on that sounds so condescending, but like great work on worse. Good job.
Good job by you.
Yeah, good job, buddy. Please,
we appreciate you.
Yeah, please message me back. I love it. It's only a whippersnapper. Well, that rounds out the top 5. Now things are going to get spicy. We've got lists of people that we think potentially either deserves to go in the Hall of Fame immediately or sooner rather than later, or are on a trajectory to get there. And we're going to talk about them because, you know, why not talk about you guys? We're going to pass judgment. But this is where things get a little bit dicey. We say again, this podcast isn't meant to upset anyone. It's only for funsies, but it might. If you have a real problem with anything that we've said, feel free to message me after. You know how we roll. Hello, all recap top 5 for those who just joined. What's up, King? Nice to see you, brother. Top 5. We have Tragedy. Hang on, quick. Let's we might as well use the thing. Top 5. Tragedy out of Brisbane. We have Rusty out of Wellington, New Zealand, by way of Wellington, New Zealand. We have our good friend Night Owl from Melbourne, Australia. We have some guy and
some jerk. Yeah.
some jerk. We have Than from Sacramento, and we have Scorpion from Brisbane. Yeah, shot top 5. Respect to you.
That was my exact top 5, so you and I were on the same page, Steve.
Yeah. Got him. We got him. Rusted Stain started playing laser tag almost 20 years before you were born. Oh, how do I ban you for hate speech? So how do you want to do this? Do we want to just throw names out, or you love how Night Owl is good for him, but no one else.
I can talk a little bit about some
You're my
of
good friend,
the separators that I came up with just when I was looking through lists of players. And one of the things that we kind of did as background research for this is that I started in with some very helpful assistance from Than to try to fill out essentially an Excel sheet, everybody's favorite Than tool, that would be essentially an archive of all the tournament results we've had since 1995, when we really got rolling with this tournament system. So in looking at like all of the wins, all of the awards for stuff that we have records on, and there were definitely gaps in the data, but some of the separators that I was noticing of like, okay, there aren't that many players who meet these criteria. So some of the things I looked at were, if you have 3 or more nationals titles, that's a relatively short list of people. And most of them are in Brisbane and Oakley.
Yeah.
The relative short list of players there. Some combination of like 5 or more individual awards and either wins or at least finals appearances, especially if they're finals appearances that are like outside of your home field. That shows you've been a consistent competitor. So that was something that I was coming across, that like there's not that many players who meet that. And when I was looking at the number of players who had like 2 Nats titles, that is a larger number. But there are some things that stand out to me, and this came up partly because of you and Than, that if one of them's outside your home field, and if you have wins in both hemispheres, like that counts for a lot more, I think, than if you only have wins at your home site. Also, if you were like either the best player or one of the best 2 players on like both of those Nats wins, that might be worth a little bit more consideration. Or if you have like all-stars, other awards for the years that you won, or you have just like a huge unbroken string of wins in other tournaments, that might be worth something. But those were some of the separators that I was noticing just in putting some of these lists together.
Yeah, when you start, obviously our tournament scene isn't massive, so we aren't pulling from a player base of like 1,000 players or whatever. We've had, less than, I would say, 200 names, or like names of players who have played multiple internationals tournaments.
Multiple, okay.
Yeah. Which I guess kind of puts you in those categories. So we're not pulling from a massive list, but yeah, there are a few people in here that I think we can sort of discuss the merits of. But so you're saying you're number 6? You're down there, bro. You're down there. Did you come in at number 8? Hello, Night Owl. Nice to see you, my friend. Who is also Trade. You're my friend too, just from your previous comment. You're on that list, bro. We paid homage. Actually, whilst you're here, you can check out the photo that I used for your little so condescending, for your title card. Here you go, mate. That's just for you.
Just for you, buddy.
I love the peach. We metaphorically S'd your D earlier in the show if you want to go back and watch it later.
Blimey.
All right. On that note, who wants to jump in first?
Well, based on some of that stuff, I can throw out a few names for you guys, and we can take this one at a time, or you just tell me.
Let's take them one at a time.
To you. So, in looking at that criteria that I said, in terms of players who have 3 or more Nats wins, looking at first Australia and New Zealand players, because that's a wider list. We already mentioned Rusty, Traj, and Night Owl and Scorpion, so those were people who were on the list, but also people who have a good number of titles. Fredo has at least 7. Jared, aka Boom Train, has at least 6. And then quick, we have again that kind of that Oakley core that I mentioned, like Mental, Duckman, Hoodlum. They all have at least like 3+.
Yeah. Real quick,
I don't know if Dragon does also.
Didn't make title cards for everyone, and I apologize for that. I only had, when I decided to do it, less than 24 hours. When I found a tool to allow me to do this shit easily. Fredo was on my list. I've got Jared on my list as somebody who has played multiple Nats, has won multiple Nats, has won multiple MVP, multiple All-Star awards, Meta Killer awards, has titles in both hemispheres, has the longevity. He's been playing since the late 90s. And on a personal note, like completely, one of a few people who completely like, I don't anymore. I'm not going to keep going with that. But yeah, good guy. That's a good guy.
Steve's tangents.
Yeah. Fredo, you're also on the list. I didn't create you a title card. I'm sorry, bro. But Fredo was one of those guys who, when I started, he was like, "Oh, you gotta like the Fredo dude. He's like the best in the game right now. He's awesome." So there was people that spoke about him with like reverence. Yeah, but yeah, Jared is definitely on that list.
Yeah.
Laserforce.
Yeah, I would find it hard to argue against either of those two.
As much as we can say that like, oh well, you know, Brisbane wins most of these tournaments, so of course they're going to have a bunch of players in there. But not all of the same Brisbane players were on all of those teams, and Jared was on a lot of those teams. He was a major contributor to a lot of the success of many of those.
Fredo was the first player you played against that wasn't just better than you, but another tier above you. Yeah, and like he was still great when I first met him, but he'd kind of, I think he'd peaked maybe like a year or two before. But he stayed good. And actually a good thing about Fredo is that Fredo kind of changed as he sort of got older, changed the way in which he contributed to his teams. So, you know, going from being a solid attacking player to dropping back and laying some like foundation in the resupply in the later like Nats wins that he got, was pretty important, I think. You also said on that list, this guy right here. Look at that photo.
Legend.
Wow.
Sorry, bro.
No, you're not.
No.
Don't lie. You are not sorry about that in the slightest.
Multiple Nats wins. Played 10 Nats. Again, late 90s players. One thing I think that
I think he has more wins than that, doesn't he?
Oh wait, I think he does.
Because at least 03, 07, and 2010 should all be on there that I know of.
Hang on, I did.
And I wasn't sure if he had played in like 2002 or 2000, which I know were earlier Oakley wins as well. But in any case, he's got multiple Nats wins.
Yeah, the point being that there's certainly something to be said for Wayne and his ridiculous medics seeking radar as far as that goes.
That's kind of how I think about both him and Boom Train, actually, is their ability to kill the medic, and doing that in a role that like that can be overlooked. Like a lot of the times it's done in that scout role, where they're doing most of the damage, they're getting in and killing a resupply, which I guess is a testament to their attacking commander, like, you know, maybe creating some opportunities for that. Mental, I didn't create a title card for you, I'm sorry, bro, but you're another one that with multiple Nats wins, longevity in the game, and like a lot of individual awards.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna put Hoodlum in there, you have to put Mental and Duckman right alongside him, because I think of them as a unit. They're the core of that multiple win Oakley team.
Yeah, I think maybe the thing that does Oakley a disservice is Nat's appearances in recent times. So there was a large gap between drinks. You know, we were playing maybe like early 2000s to the kind of the late 2000s was kind of Oakley's heyday, and then they disappeared off the scene for a number of years, and would come to tournaments sporadically, but otherwise wouldn't and part of that comes down to not being able to play in their home site,
and now not having a home site, and
all of that just contributes, but those players I had on my list as well. That's why we played disc golf. Exactly right. It's easier on the knees.
Yeah. So I had mental on my list. I didn't actually have hoodie on my list.
Right.
What a jerk.
Yeah, I am a total dickbag for that, for sure. No, that's so actually the other Oakley player that I had on my list, and this name is going to mean absolutely nothing to anybody recent. Snookums.
Right. Snookums was even before my time.
Correct. So the reason that Snookums made it onto my list was in the olden days. There was voting for essentially all-stars at these, and there was a point at which Snookums had been voted all-star scout 3 times in the space of like 5 years, and he was the only basically the only non-Brisbane scout to get voted onto these teams. Now, again, this is late 90s. We don't have the records anymore. I only really remembered that from it used to actually be his forum signature way back in the old days of the LF Boards forums. Something about, do you doubt the only 3-time Australian scout? Yeah, and so it's like the only reason that I kind of remember that, because for some reason it stuck. But that's another person that obviously hasn't been involved in the scene for a long time, but was a part of the scene in its early formative days, and was a really top tier player in that time frame. So and so if we're looking at full longevity within the scene and all that, okay, sure, no, there's a thing. He was in it for a very limited amount of time, but there is something to be said for a down ballot thing later of for this time frame, he was on top of his game.
Speaking of someone from way back in the day, a name that popped up, and again, I think I only met him once, maybe, but it's another player that was spoken about with a lot of reverence, was I don't know if you guys want to speak more about him. What the fuck's going on my floor?
I would if I knew who you're talking about. I think I have a guess, but
have a guess. Go.
Put
have
the
a
title
guess.
card up. I'm gonna guess you're gonna say Prophet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now you'll see. I forgot to take out the default stuff that was in the plugin that I used.
He is the international man of mystery. You don't know how many Nats he's played, nor how many he's won.
Line 2, best line.
Yeah. I mean, Prophet had medic killing radar before Hoodie had medic killing radar.
Right.
That is that. And again, for those people who came into the game after Prophet had stopped playing, man, did you guys miss a dominant player? Like he was just absolutely freaking ridiculous as far as that goes. Just in terms of his ability to just kill medics. It was absolutely fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. I can't speak on Prophet really, because I don't remember if I ever met him. I can't remember if he played in 2003 or 2005. 2005 there was like a Brisbane old-timey team, I believe.
That was oldies versus newbies, yeah.
And I can't remember if he was on that team. First command.
We wrote him down, at least as a stand-in for that team, but I can't claim with 100% accuracy if that's true or not.
Yeah. Pretty good player after doing 4 lines too. Apologies, because Prophet, you deserve more than what I've given you here. But I'm sorry, I don't really. Yeah, I don't know enough to kind of put in there, and I meant to try and reach out to some of your contemporaries and get more information, but
Didn't.
I shit the bed, so apologies.
Well, given the influence that he had on other players, though, because again, Jared's talking about how good he was. Mental Size is the first commander he ever really went up against. So a lot of probably what we know and expect out of the way that commander play is supposed to work, a lot of it probably goes back to Prophet, because certainly Mental was a commander a lot of people looked up to. Rusty learned things, I'm sure, from Prophet, from Mental, from other players who were playing when he started entering the Nat scene. So a lot of that kind of foundational evolution is important, and Prophet was there for a good chunk of it. So yeah. I think that's a perfectly worthy inductee, even if doesn't necessarily have a lot of the recency that's in there. And probably other players, maybe that I might not put in exactly that list, but are other players from back in the day, like War Dog, Mortis, Dragon is probably on there. Beast didn't play in as many Nats as I thought he did, but obviously was one of the great players. At his peak. So they would certainly be players who I would mention as like really important to the game and were very dominant in their day, but have not obviously done a lot in the last 10, maybe even 15 years in some cases. But they were still foundational people in the game, like when all 3 of us started.
Yeah, and like, so maybe that's speaks to their influence on their local scenes, and then potentially, I mean, we've been around, the 3 of us have been around the international scene for a long time, but not the entire time. So, I guess that's maybe something that would mean that they wouldn't necessarily be in that, first ballot, which is, I think we consider the top 5 that we talked about as first ballot Hall of Famers, but certainly someone that would look to get into, second ballot or at some point be honored in some sort of Hall of Fame, hypothetical Hall of Fame.
Yep. So I've got a couple more to throw out as, again, maybe not first ballot Hall of Fame, but maybe down ballot.
Give me a name
as that goes. So I'm actually going to do 2 names here.
Do one name.
Do one name?
Yeah.
And then he'll tell you if he has a button for it.
Yeah,
and if he doesn't, then you can
do 2 names. Yeah.
Nah. So and the reason that I'm doing 2 names on this is because it is both of my co-hosts. And I realize that everybody's going to go rigged. You're all nominating each other in. Well, fuck you. It's our show. But
we like to stand in a circle and we,
but there are very specific reasons why both Steve-O and DK should be in the in whatever Laserforce Hall of Fame we create. Let's start with DK because I've known him slightly longer. The reality is that
it was almost the same shirt.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So the reality is that DK has been at the top of the US game for sure. And then when we got introduced to the Australian game, realized, oh fuck, the US is fucking terrible. And then worked to improve his game further once he realized what the levels actually were. and I also can't overstate enough how instrumental he was to helping me keep things organized in SAC from a league perspective, a tournament perspective, any tournament or organizing that I did ever, he was a part of.
Yeah.
You know, most pretty much every team that I built in when I was in Sacramento, he was a part of, and he was a part of for a very specific reason. One, because he's a great player who, you know, big brains the game in a way that I don't. So, you know, always having that extra person to bounce things off of. And at this point, you know, he's got the wins in both hemisphere, which, you know, is not something that a lot of, you know, us Northern Hemisphere players can say. As far as, you know, do you have Nats win? Sure. Do you have them in both hemispheres? Well, not really. So in that regard, just, you know, across the board, you know, length of time played, length of time at the top of the game, you know, number of wins, overall contribution. It's, you know, it would be hard to not vote DK in.
What I like about this is, this is the most drunk Hall of Fame. What I like about this, and I didn't know this until like the kind of stats came through, was you got All-Star awards for all 5 Space Marines positions at Nats
as of last year.
That's awesome. I'd be interested to know just how many of the players from our scene over the years have got All-Star awards in all 5 Space Marines positions. That's pretty.
DK. It's DK. No, nobody else has done it.
That's
I can
massive.
I can say that with certainty that there is nobody else that has pulled all-stars in all 5 positions over the course of their career.
It's pretty impressive.
Traj might have been able to, but
Traj never played medic.
He hasn't mained medic, yeah. So
yeah,
kind of cheated for that one.
Nah, it still counts. Yeah, I you know, then try to keep it relatively PG. Then did a pretty good job servicing you. So I don't have too much to add, other than you come at Space Marines in a very cerebral way. It's not something that I've noticed in many other players. So I wholeheartedly endorse that nomination as well.
I'm humbled and honored. Thank
your
you, boys.
Your second name is incorrect, so I'll very quickly say that technically I'm in this photo. I didn't make me a title card because I don't think that I have. I feel like I've contributed to the scene, but I don't think that I've got the like play. It was never really.
You're on my list. You're on my list.
Nay.
Yeah, you got wins in both hemispheres. I don't care if you want to put an asterisk on the tonsillitis one. It still counts. You still showed up. You showed up. You played in the finals.
Definitely contributed. Yeah, I don't know. We can.
This whole podcast network wouldn't be if not for you. Like, I mean, Fan and I have been co-hosts, but all we have to do is talk. Like, you've been the one who's actually done the research of like how to use all of this crazy technology. You're the one who takes the time to edit videos, to like take GoPro footage at random points during the week so you can make a dope ass video at the end of the Nats.
Yeah.
All that kind of organization stuff. So I mean, you've definitely ascended into the organizational level with, say, Traj and Night Owl and Fan, from my perspective, just as somebody who's helping to jumpstart Laserforce Media. So if for no other reason than that, you definitely belong in there.
Most spread Kiwi AIDS at Nats. Odin, I reckon that there might be a call for me being the sickest person at Nats, and not in a cool way.
Correct. For sure.
Yeah. we contribute. We don't need to go too much into me, but I wholeheartedly endorse this. I'm right there with you, Dan. Right. Shall we move on?
Yeah, we can move. We can move on.
I don't know if you have a title card, but somebody else who I would count as a Southern Hemisphere player who also has multiple titles, including in both hemispheres, would be Baden, Brew, Bob the Builder, whatever he's calling himself these days.
Look at that photo.
I thought he was giving us a finger for a second.
It's part of a trophy. A pig flew in Brisbane. That was Virus. Virus turned green. It was fucked. When I was going through photos to find photos of players, I came across that one of Virus, and I was like, "Good God, he's a different color." At his 525 deadlift, it's fucking crazy.
I think you're just saying nobody else has all 5 awards. Baden it says it right there on a title card.
Yeah.
You can't argue with the title card.
So Baden's the other one that has done it, and I was like, and
Really?
and well, at least that's what he said.
When did he play? When did he play medic? That's my question.
Let me double check. Let me double check, because
What else did he tell you, Steve?
Yeah.
He said he too has a podcast, and he does about Space Marines. I don't know if
regular old guy with
to be
a big
fair,
ass dick.
to be fair, I just put whatever people said. I don't fact check any of this.
Yeah, you didn't vet any of this, but that's okay.
He said he won all the awards, so I just typed everything I could remember. Rookie of the Year. Why was I honest? But yeah, another player who's had big gameplay contributions to the sport, has won in both hemispheres as well. Won a bunch of individual awards. His 7 Nats wins. Yeah, I think he's right up there with anyone that you could, potentially look at for Hall of Fame caliber player.
Yeah, he just has the unfortunate side effect of being related to Rusty. So
yeah. Forever living in that shadow. He's also he's one of the only people in our scene that I can remember whose actual name is way more interesting than any code name that he's come up with over the years, and there has been lots.
Yes,
yeah.
They have at least 10 plus over the course of his playing career.
If you go into the LF stats, the I Play Laserforce site, he's got a code name in there, Evil Bum, which he said was the last code name he had at Wellington because the owners.
They finally got it changed.
Did they?
Yeah, when I was doing research.
That's so funny. But yeah, they called him Evil Bum when they banned him, and then to just stayed that for a long time. But yeah,
Put that in. Only player banned from at least 3 sites.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Wellington has a few really legendary players, and I would put Stallion in that bracket as well. Yep. Stallion's for me a player who definitely rides the borderline for the list. Unfortunately, I didn't make him a title card. I'm sorry, Stallion, but
he's got the longevity argument.
That's right,
because he showed up last year.
Yeah, but has tournament wins, and contributed to the growth of New Zealand Laserforce. Not
Correct.
Just Wellington, but New Zealand across the board. So, was instrumental in getting the competitive sites to meet up in both Wellington, Auckland, and also Napier when we did road trips down there. So, where I was getting to with that is the two kind of top Wellington players are probably more famous for the work that they did when they left the Wellington site. They had the most success when they kind of spread their wings and went global. So, if Stallion never went to Newcastle in '99, you may never have played in overseas at all. Exactly right. Like, Stallion's instrumental in like the growth of New Zealand Laser Force. Without him, we probably don't get you guys, and we don't get a competitive scene in Auckland.
Well, and so Stallion was on my list as well, basically for that reason.
Yeah.
If there's no what's funny, so there's a whole evolution here. If Stallion never creates his little website where he was uploading Space Marines 4 scout scorecards that I never find, and never just randomly email him and say, hey, that's really fucking cool, we never start talking. Neither one of us, I think, ever end up going to Newcastle, and none of this happens.
That's a pretty crazy what if right there.
So you want to talk about just a full fucking butterfly effect?
Exactly the term I'd use.
Of a thing that that had an outsized impact on the entirety of the Laserforce tournament scene. It's Stallion creating just a little personal website to upload SM4 scorecards to that he was proud of, and I was just randomly searching for Laserforce stuff, and it popped up, and it was like, at the time we were playing nothing but Space 4 in Sacramento. So yeah, it's again, you want to talk about weird butterfly effects. That is a weird butterfly effect.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so with that, yeah, Stallion very much on my list of should be considered for Laserforce Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
For contributions to the scene, for sure.
Just so you guys know, these are like all of these title cards and players that we're talking about. These are all the people that either are just either like on one side or just either side of that line of where we think that they would be of higher caliber enough to be in a Hall of Fame, or at least in the conversation. So we can blame Stallion for you having to deal with Rusty for the last 20 years? Yes.
Yes, yeah.
You're welcome.
That's accurate. So yeah, more names? I have more names.
Well,
yeah.
So, because I hate racism, and we haven't talked about nearly enough U.S. players yet. Why don't we get some U.S. players going in here? Because
Sure.
I mean, I have several names that are on my list just in terms of like my criteria. But I think one name definitely stands out as pretty significant to me, and that would be one Mr. Scythe.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and you guys can speak on this far more than I can, because obviously, you're from the US and have far more dealings with Scythe than I have. But the lore of Scythe was almost kind of on par with like the lore of Rusty, or even like say the lore of Mental. From like his relatively short career playing Space Marines.
Yeah.
I say relatively. Scythe sucks at confirming he's on your team. I'll just add that to the
that's
list.
facts.
But yeah, played since actually hasn't played as long as I thought. He said he started 2009.
I mean, that was the first Nats that he played for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he joined prior to that. But that was the first Nats that he played. Played 11 Nats in total. Had won 3 of them. All-Star Commander, All-Star Scout, All-Star Heavy, and has a bunch of East Coast and West Coast tournament wins and accolades as well. So from a player's achievement standpoint, definitely someone who's up there.
Yeah. He's got enough of the longevity argument that he's in there, even though he's only been in Nats since 2009. That really was kind of the start of the modern U.S. Nats. But again, the old days count, because like, am I not going to count the 3 titles that I won before that? Of course I am.
Asterisks. See those asterisks
It
in
was
chat.
It's still important, like history. But when I look at sort of peak ability of U.S. players, I mean, other than Baden, who I don't really think of as a U.S. player, he's a New Zealand player who happened to move to the U.S. Like Scythe was the most dominant player in the U.S. for several years, and it was at a time when Laserforce was reaching like kind of new heights in the U.S. And a lot of players, I think, who became part of the next generation of tag players really looked up to Scythe and his example of how to play the game and of being the dominant player and people that they wanted to measure themselves against. And like much like I was trying to measure myself against Rusty, I know that Scythe was also, and that's why so tournaments like 2019 in Detroit were really important because I understand how meaningful that is.
You bring an interesting point up, Stallion, that like a title card that doesn't start with a 19 something 2009, and maybe you could shed some light on the Scythe when you like joined Lasers, but 2009 is relatively recent for someone to kind of make this list. But yeah, like anytime that I've seen you play, like there's an effortlessness to the way that you attack, which is really awesome to watch. Like for anyone, if you go to Nats and Scythe is playing Commander, make an effort to be a referee in a space that you can watch him attack a resupply, because it's
painful if you're the person being attacked. But,
yeah,
it hurts a lot.
There's like a flow state to the way that he plays. It's
correct.
Beautiful.
Well, and my first observation of Scythe from that 2009 Nats, where he's saying like he basically only started playing Space Marines a couple of weeks before that. I know that he started the week playing Scout in that tournament, but just after watching for like a day and a half, he was their best player. I'm like, it's not even close. It's not even close how much better he is than the other players they had. Which is not to say they didn't have some other good players who have had success in tournaments in later years, but like he was pretty significantly the player that I'm like, that's the guy to watch.
Yeah.
And it was similar to like how I felt the first time I went to Loveland and saw Caleb play. Where I'm like, he's the standout player. Like, you want to watch that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then they switched you to Commander, which was where you belong, but it was just an experience thing at that point. I mean, nobody really had any Space Marines experience aside from the Sacramento team that we brought. So again, I'm glad that we got the win, but that there's also one of those. It was just a matter of experience.
When you put that attacking combination, or that 3-hit combination of Scythe and Baden, that's a
or
scary...
Scythe and Micro.
Or Scythe and... Oh, yeah, true. Those are scary combinations. So, I'd like to... do you want to say anything else on Scythe before we move on?
I mean, I'm still pissed off that in 2011 he decided to play heavy against us in finals, but that's neither here nor there.
Once they swapped their lineup a little bit, that got a little rough. That unlocked something for them that was a little scary.
It's bullshit. I wanna bring up another US player who I think deserves recognition as well, and that is Thunder. I think
that was on my list too.
Thunder. This is a terrible photo, so apologies, bro.
Like the other ones, they're also great.
But this one is missing. Like, it's not even his arm. Thunder doesn't have the Nats wins, but what he doesn't have in Nats wins, he more than makes up for in contributions to Laserforce and Space Marines.
And even if he doesn't have the wins, he's been a standout player in so many tournaments.
Yeah.
Like even tournaments where maybe his team didn't do particularly well.
Yeah.
Like you ask anybody who they were impressed with, Thunder's always going to come up on the list.
Well, I think the second time that I saw Thunder play was in Sacramento in 2012, I think. And I just remember watching him play heavy and was just like, wow, dude, this guy is a wall. He stops everything from coming through. It's crazy. He makes up for his golly geez.
He was by far the best player on that 2012 team.
Yeah.
As time went on, he trained up a few other good Utah players. But
and he's so nonchalant about it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that is the most infuriating thing when you're playing against him is he looks like he's literally expending no energy.
Yeah.
And he's not. He's barely expending any energy to do anything. But he is just smacking you 6 ways from Sunday, and he's always in the right place to completely just throw you off your game. And you're like, bruh, why? Why? Why?
Yeah.
So and that's and I mean and that's definitely the one of the hallmarks of a really good player, that they're always in the right place, doing the right things, making sure that you're miserable as an opponent, and he checks all those boxes for sure.
So I asked him just for some brief information, and he said he takes a lot of pride in the time that he's spent growing the competitive Space Marines community. He's been to every single Laserforce site within a 12-hour drive of where he lives. And obviously, flying across the country and stuff. He went to Chula Vista within the first year of then opening and got them to start competing with St. George. He also went to San Marcos within the first month of them opening and got them playing, and also the first person apparently to visit Loveland and get them to start playing with them. So those are
pretty important.
Yeah.
Pretty important.
Yeah. Yeah, and he also said that he has the largest written collection on Laserforce. He created a 50-plus page game book, which details all the levels, special abilities, and games, and more. And then also written a 150-plus page book of tips, tricks, detailed guides, lesson plans, and more designed for every player, ranging from the very newest to the most experienced, which is crazy.
Yeah, I think he is the only player who thinks about Space Marines as much as I do, probably more. He probably thinks about it more than I do, and that's kind of crazy because I'm an insane person.
After West Coast tournament in Loveland in 2022, I flew back to Vegas with this crew, and I remember he basically ran a sermon, is probably the correct word to use, about Space Marines in the departure lounge. It was awesome. And I was like, I have to go get snacks, but I'm fascinated in what you're talking about. And it was just so knowledgeable and so willing to want to teach anyone that wants to learn about the game. And I think that's a really important thing for skilled players to be able to do is take what they know and have been doing for a long time and be able to then teach that to other people. So, the work that he does to grow our scene, it can't be overstated. He does a lot to teach our game to people. Tricky player to play against regardless of the position he plays. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Son of a gun. Yeah.
Pretty sure he has an all-star ammo in there too.
According to him, he didn't say. He didn't say, but he said he's got several medic killers and golden gun awards, which is dope.
I think we split it. I think we split it in 2021. I think he got MVP ammo and I got all-star ammo, or maybe it's the other way around. I can't remember which was which. But,
yeah, right.
Yeah, he is definitely a threat regardless of what position he plays, including medic.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty awesome. I put a lot of weight on the medic killer award. Shots are meant to be wasted. Yeah. I think he's definitely worth a look at being on this list. If not like in the second ballot, borderline first. I think it's just comes down to Nats wins. I think that kind of keeps some people out of being unanimous or however you kind of want to look at it. But Have you guys got many more you want to talk about?
I've got two more that
It's not a two more.
Yeah, do two more, and then I'll give you a quick kind of rundown of other people who I think either could be on the list or at least in the conversation.
Okay, so both of these are Auckland players, and so first, virus, because the reality is, this is one of my vibe check ones that, yeah, okay, so he's got the one win, but he is the highest impact player that Auckland has ever produced. I'm not counting trips in this whatsoever.
Let's get him back in chat.
Yeah. So
Bring the thoughts.
Does he? Where he falls short right now is the Nats wins and potentially the longevity, because he was really only in the scene for and I guess he wasn't it for a while. He's just he's been overseas, so hasn't been really super involved. So Virus is one. That's fine.
I really, so I wasn't going to create a title card because as much as I love Virus, and I really do, for me, yeah, he doesn't have the longevity or the Nats wins, and he didn't have the Nats wins, I think, because of the longevity. I think if he had stayed,
those two are correlated.
Yeah, if he had stayed competing, he probably would have got at least another one under his belt. I mostly created this because I wanted to use the photo.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. And like I said, like Sam would definitely, he definitely wouldn't be, potentially a first, second, or even third, but he's somebody that you would have the conversation about.
He's arguably the best, and I would say arguably, he's arguably, not even arguably, he's the best player to come out of Auckland. The best Space Marines player to come out of Auckland. So far. Yeah.
I mean, the King brothers might argue that, but
of course, that's not to take anything away from anyone. It's just, and it hurts for me to say because Virus, because me and him, we grew up together, we're friends for a long time, even prior to Laserforce, and so that makes you naturally rivals when it's one of those situations, right? And when he first started, I was better, which I liked, and then I think I went on holiday and I came back and I wasn't better anymore.
And it was a problem.
Yeah. But I would say he's the best player that Auckland has produced, in my opinion.
And you need multiple good players. If you can't beat them, join them.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, Sam, you won, and my next one is gonna be slightly out of left field. Maybe we'll see how this goes. Sneak is on my list for should be in the conversation for a Hall of Fame ballot.
Interesting.
And so this was another kind of vibe check one as well, but there.
Sneak.
So the reality is, what did I say at the start? There's always those players that are overlooked because they do a job and they do it well, and they're there and they contribute to the team. And if you pull them out of the team actually falls apart. So let's look at Sneak as a player. He was the only person in Auckland that you could have playing medic at a tournament level for the first part of Auckland's life, because none of you motherfuckers would do it properly. like you needed to have somebody who was able to subsume themselves into the team and do what was best for the team. And in early Auckland stage, that was Sneak.
Just early. That's him.
Yeah,
it's a hard thing.
Let me finish. When we moved into the me taking over the building of teams in Auckland after 05, where you guys failed fucking miserably, moving
fuck this guy.
being able to move him out into the field and suddenly people going, oh, wait, Sneak can actually play? Yeah, he could always fucking play. You just always had to have him someplace where his contribution wasn't necessarily immediately noticeable. I mean, it was noticeable because if he died, you didn't get lives. So being able to show that, yes, this is the level of player that he is, where he will happily move into and move out of a subsumed position and contribute on a high level to the team, you know, for me, puts him into a, okay, yep, he's not a first ballot. Like, yeah, that's doesn't have the wins, this, that, the other. There's things, but he's definitely somebody that is in the conversation further down the line as a, yeah, overall contribution to the site, overall contribution to, the teams he plays on. He's worth having the conversation about.
Right on. I can appreciate that. Cosmic no shots and no missiles in the first 2 minutes and nukes. Yeah, didn't he drop two really quickly or something? I remember hearing
As I recall, yes, much to Morange's dismay.
Yeah. Fucking 2 nukes! Or something.
Has he done 2 nukes already?
Biggest waste of talent player strips of Gino. Oh, I love the drive-bys. Great. Yeah. Okay. I could see an argument for having a conversation. And again, as much as and maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm hard on my home site players, as as I heard about when I went and played Laserforce this week, because everyone watched the resupply rejig that me and DK or DK and I did. They were like, "Oh man, you immediately just shit on Orange." And I was like, no. I mean, yeah, but
he politely critiqued.
That's right. And I would say, like, I love Sneak, and Sneak is a very talented dude. He's one of those cats that I guess is on the edge of contention, but there are people maybe further up that list. But it's worth a conversation about it.
Yep.
That might have been a pretty good clip from. I think there was clipped. Yeah.
So let me throw out somebody else from the U.S. like to round out the 5 main nominees I would have if there was a pantheon of Mount Rushmore of U.S. players. We've already talked about 4 of them, which would be Than, myself, Scythe, Thunder. The 5th person I'd put on that list would be Beans. Among U.S. players, because he definitely has the longevity argument. He's played in every Nats that we've had since 2009, which no other player can claim, because I didn't go in 2016.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't go in 2016. And yeah, whether or not you want to call the 2016 and 2021 as fake Nats, okay, that's fine. But I mean, he did win both of those tournaments as well. And he's been a finalist plenty of other times. He's been an all-star in Brisbane, which, looking at also the 2 of you, I also respect quite a lot.
Yeah.
If you manage to win an all-star award in a Brisbane tournament, because that's very difficult. You're going up against very high-level competition. And so much of the stuff with like the stream, again, tournament organization, getting people together. Like, he's essentially been kind of the East Coast version of like a Thunder in some ways. Like, he goes to multiple sites, he gets things going. He's done installs. Him and Sanch obviously have a long-running relationship. And he clearly has the kind of talent advantage when it comes to people who have come out of Syracuse and the East Coast. Like, I put him and Scythe kind of in that top tier of East Coast players who have come out of those sites over the years.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And the reason why the asterisks exist in this graphic is because he added them. I did ask him, and he said, I was like, how many Nats titles have you won? And he said 0, unless you include 2016, which I don't.
I say 2.
You say 2? There you go. Yeah. So it's like, it's a tough one, and I know exactly what he means when you start putting caveats on your Nats wins. If you feel if you feel a way about it personally, then yeah, that's fine. But I guess like how other people kind of judge it can speak volumes as well. But I also obviously have had him sort of on that kind of edge of the list. Yeah, I think his contributions to East Coast Space Marines is really important.
Agree.
Yeah. And you need these people. You need the cheerleaders in our scene to get people excited about coming to play this game every year. He told you 2015 counts, so I told him 2016 counts.
Yeah,
Fair.
all right. I think that's a fair argument right there.
Yeah, that's what we call it. Asterisk high five. You've never seen him wear long pants? I don't think he owns long pants. He just puts on a second pair of shorts if it's cold, which is never. Yeah, I would put him up there as well.
Yeah.
You might not.
So just to give a little bit of other background, because we've been going for quite a while now, and I don't want us to be here all
Can I
night,
talk about one more
but-
player?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. I got one last player that I have a graphic for. And
Good.
You guys will probably talk about him at some point, but I would put him in this list. And that's this guy. I'd put Maniac on this list.
We stand our stats, man.
Yeah. This is another. This is finally nice creeper photo. I'm sorry for the photo, dude. It's probably the worst one.
I don't know, man. That's a pretty high clear.
But yeah, like
yeah, that's if you eliminate like the mental teabagging photos. It's like, okay, what's the second tier after that of acceptable stuff I can put in?
he looks like he's about to steal your code. Did you say parser? So he this is a player who doesn't necessarily reflect a bunch of wins on in his career, but
that 0 makes me sad. It should be at least 1. It should be 1.
But he there is no one in our scene more important to stats for the collation and collection of stats than Maniac. No one. There are plenty of people that have put in groundwork in the early days, like you, Than. But when it comes to the way in which our Space Marine scene can be enjoyed by by all players, but especially by newer players, I've noticed that with like our scene locally, the newer players love the stats site. And I talked about it with one of the guys, Popeyes, who's the player, who's the zone player that currently plays with us, who has a lot of input into zone nats and competitive zone here in New Zealand, but also globally. He was just like, it blows my mind the stats that you guys have access to, and like the way that they're displayed. The stat site is incredible. It's legit awesome.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge stats guy, but I know for people that are, it's basically like a not safe for work website. So we appreciate all the work that you do for our site, and especially given that I'd imagine that you don't get to play as much these days as you would like to.
He played duos last year.
Yeah, surprise. I thought he died, to be fair. No.
I mean, without altitude, almost did.
Yeah, until he popped up complaining about adverts. Yeah, and then I was like, here he is. He's back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, what I don't appreciate is you ignoring me in Facebook Messenger. Thank you. I'd like quicker replies to my messages.
Well, this is the thing with these technically minded people like Maniac and Scorpion. They just don't have time for your pleb bullshit.
That's true. Yeah, they're like, oh, this guy. Oh. He's so loud and he's so jumpy around. Ugh, yuck. leaving Steven on read. You're a little mad at him that Than isn't using Excel for stats anymore.
I am so okay with not using
Ugh.
Excel anymore to generate the stats. Just, no.
2011 Excel fan was not a happy fan. We're good that we moved past that.
Very much so.
Someone needs to make this image into a meme, by the way. Oh, I didn't see your name on the Hall of Fame list. Or something like that.
Well, we already have like one other Russ meme already with him sipping his drink on the beach. So this can be the second one. He's the first Laserforce player to be featured in multiple memes.
Does see anyone else? No one else that I have graphics for, I think.
Everybody else, I think, is probably debatable. So just real quick, I wanted to run through the list of U.S. players who have multiple Nats titles.
Yeah.
I mean, at the very least, they should be honorable mentions, if not inductees at some point.
Yeah.
So players who have 3 or more in the U.S., it's a list of only 4 players. So it's me, Scythe, Yama, and Lejeune have 3 or more. Then there are a few more who have 2. So Than, who we already mentioned, Beans, who we already mentioned, and then Micro, Ghosty, Disco Stew, ADHD. I mean, they were all part of the same team in both 2013, 2019, so they both got them. Tav has 2. Lenny has 2. If Beans has 2, then Lenny also has 2.
Yeah.
Do Not Pass Go, and then Cordash and Lucky from Sacramento also have 2 apiece. So list of names. I'm not sure any of them are necessarily first ballot. Probably Micro, I think, would be the closest because he has the peak skill argument that's in there. But for a lot of other guys, it's Disco Stew does have the longevity. I think that should be mentioned. He's been in the U.S. scene a long time.
Yep.
The rest of them, I think, it's just a track record in terms of like number of tournaments played and stuff like that. I'm like, I would want to see a little bit more before I gave you like a shoe-in spot, kind of like you guys did with Sneak and Virus. Like, I want to mention them. They're probably in the conversation, but maybe not yet.
Maybe, and also like, you know, like how far out of their home sites they kind of ventured, because I know some of the players, you know, again, really good in their home sites, didn't travel too much. Probably would have been awesome wherever they played, but still, like you still gotta actually go out and put in some ground.
You gotta do the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish Cordash would have traveled to more tournaments too. We definitely could have used him on a number of occasions.
Yeah.
Accurate. Yes, that's a pretty extensive list of first ballots and a whole bunch of options for, you know, second, third, fourth ballots.
And people who are out there now who I think are still building their resumes who could make it. Some people who are in this chat, like, I mean, Glader, Troy, they have good tournament track record. They're probably going to keep playing, so I could definitely see them making a case.
Yeah.
In terms of like the people with wins in both hemispheres scenario, I mean, Slaughtermelon, Kodama, Snuffles, Thunder, Odin's Fist. I mean, Thunder I think is already in, but the other 4, like, they could theoretically do that this year, so that's going to help their case.
Yeah.
People like Fear Turkey and Mischief from Loveland are top level players, so I think if they keep building their resume, could definitely make it. So there's a lot of people who could still come in. And then also looking at like contributions outside of Space Marines, I could look at 10, 15 years from now, we might look at, say, Lucy and Marcus in the same way that we think about like Fan and Night Owl right now as people who introduced the game to like a whole new scene and got it going in a new area. Yeah. So
yeah,
I think there's a bright future.
Yeah, not necessarily with the wins on the board, but like have those massive contributions to the game in different ways.
It's like, keep going. We're encouraging you. Like, we want you to make the Hall of Fame, so keep piling up that resume.
I would say, like, just to kind of big up some of the players here, but the King brothers, Morange, players like Nodal have pretty bright futures if they continue to play and compete in in future tournaments. And there's probably a lot of players that we've overlooked or missed or we haven't sort of spoken about with the same reverence as others might from their home site. And again, nothing against any of those players. It's just this is just our opinions.
And basically, if you think we fucked up and missed people, go onto the Discord and tell us how badly you think we fucked up. It's really simple.
We watched some horse shit on the internet today.
I think like our locks are pretty good selections by
Yeah,
and large. I mean, we have some people we mentioned who are like, yeah, they probably have a good case, but
I'm gonna quickly go back to here. Sick of looking at Russ. Yeah. So I think like the like you said the first five, those locks, those I don't know if anyone can kind of argue the legitimacy of those. How could you be sick of looking at Russ? Because I feel like he's judging me in that photo. It's freaking me out. I'm gonna put that photo on my fridge to stop me from snacking. It's oh, you think you lost weight this week? Hey, Happy Panda, nice to see you. But yeah,
we lost weight right before the show.
I'm actually down. I'm down 5 kilos. I've
You're
got
looking
another.
good, buddy.
I got another 35
Well done,
to
bro.
go, but we're on the right track. 40 by 40. That's the goal.
All-Star Heavy Steve is coming back.
It's coming back. I'm making a comeback. Not this year. But yeah, there are a lot of people that we have potentially missed. I know that there are actually some people who just got off a cruise ship. You gained 5 kilos from the food. I was gonna ask. I thought you might still be on the boat.
Facts.
But there are a couple more people I think we wanted to give flowers to. Is that right?
Well, I mean, we've actually, I mean, we've covered, pretty much everybody, and really the only, the kind of the two last things to, kind of cover off. We do have to, thank Alan and Len Kelly, because without them, there is no Laserforce.
Yeah.
And
Pretty important.
And we don't get to do this. And then just as a secondary, any owner who has gone above and beyond over the years to help the tournament scene, grow,
Sanch.
Survive, and maintain.
Sanch.
Definitely Sanch.
Sanch. And I mean, Yama, when he owned Sacramento, I mean, he definitely gave us all the room that we needed to do stuff. Jeff in Loveland has been absolutely fantastic for letting us be able to do events there, which has been great to maintain these things between tourneys. So it's
probably
just
Wombat as well out in WA. It probably tangentially give him some love too.
Yeah. For sure.
Contributions to the game side, and if the game is not possible without you, that's pretty important.
Yeah.
So just a very general, thank you to the Kelly brothers. Thank you to the owners that let us use their facilities and go above and beyond to help us. Yeah.
Also, actually, who's Paul McGugan?
That's
was
Gallandro, right?
Oh, right. He was also one of the like instrumental people in creating the rule set as well, from my understanding. So shout out.
And I think he came up with the D&D code originally as well, or at least the concept for it.
Oh wow, that's awesome. But yeah,
according to him.
We don't fact check these things. I like how today went. If you feel that we missed some people, please, Calandro, early member, current program with Scorpio. There you go. Yeah, shout out.
Yep.
If you guys feel that we've missed people, and we no doubt have, and if we have, we apologize. Like I keep thinking of names in my head, like Ren from Brisbane. He had a good run for a few years.
But we're at 2.5 hours already, so
yeah.
We got our first ballots in. That's good for today.
Yeah, I really like this as a concept, and hopefully we've you deserve more glory or glory holes. I would say when I saw Daz recently in Melbourne, it made my heart warm, and that wasn't just from the booze. It was awesome to see you back. I feel like I missed out on your glory years. But you're definitely in the discussion of people.
Early 2000s, he shredded people.
Yeah, and tangentially, it's called heartburn. fuck. But yeah, if you feel like we missed someone or someone deserves more love than we gave, join the Discord. Let us know. Yeah, we try and do our best to make sure that we recognize the people who deserve it, and we're only human. We miss these things, so yeah. But we enjoy you guys hanging out with us and engaging with us and hearing our jibber jabber, because really we're just three old dudes that have access to microphones and good internet. So
Valid.
I'm also really thankful for all the bits and the subs and all the support you guys have given us over the last 8 years, but like specifically in this last like Twitch these Twitch years. But yeah, the first 200 episodes of the Resupply podcast done and dusted. And hopefully we can continue creating hype for upcoming tournaments and carrying on the legacy of our competitive Laserforce Space Marine scene, because it's important to us, and I think it's important to a lot of you out there as well. Anything else to add, gentlemen, before we bid
Nah, I think we have.
Toast to my co-hosts, to the Hall of Fame folks, and to everyone in chat.
Yeah, there we go.
Fucking,
that's good.
That was beautiful.
Well done, DK.
For this week, and for the 200th time, I have been Guy Next Door.
I've been DK.
And I've been Than.
Always remember to backtrack, kids. We'll see you in the next episode of the Resupply podcast. Ka kite anō.
I've been throwing I wanna